Chapter 471 The Birth of the God of Desire. The series of defeats made Wang Nianzu increasingly irritable, and his eyes became even more bloodshot. The match continues, with Wang Nianzu maintaining a roughly 50% win rate. A long queue had already formed next to the card table. Inside the City of Desire, the seven-colored flower bud at the center of the coral in the void trembled slightly, and a layer of seven-colored ripples spread out. All living beings within the space of desire trembled in their hearts. The pent-up desires within him erupted instantly. The seven-colored flower bud swayed gracefully, emanating spiritual light and Taoist charm, surrounded by Taoist patterns. Smack! A crisp sound rang out, and a petal bloomed. At this moment, many living beings sensed something and looked up at the Sea of Desire coral, their gazes involuntarily drawn to the seven-colored flower buds. Many living things have long been curious about flower buds. Is it about to bloom? I wonder what it will look like when it's fully open. We should be careful, the aura of desire around us is getting stronger. This doesn't seem like anything special. It's something from Pengyun merchant ship. I'm quite curious. It said that it appeared when the City of Desire first opened, and now it's finally about to bloom. Everyone looked on with curiosity, eager to see what these seven-colored flower buds were. Moreover, they felt that this might be a rare opportunity. In the square, Huang Sui looked up at the colorful flower buds. Is it finally going to open up? If young Master Zhou can use the spirit gathering technique to cultivate something for tens of thousands of years, I wonder what kind of creature it will produce. He discovered this peculiar flower bud when he first entered the City of Desire. The Pengyun merchant ship was designed to accelerate its development, creating a heavenly ladder to the Sea of Desire to absorb the spiritual essence of all living beings. To be treated with such solemnity by Pengyun merchant ship, it must be no ordinary object. Smack! As another petal blooms, it once again creates a layer of colorful ripples. In the void, Zhou Yun and Uncle Zhou's figures appeared. This immediately attracted everyone's attention. However, Zhou Yun's gaze remained fixed on the flower bud, and he could clearly sense a creature struggling to emerge from within it. Young master, is this the spirit of the Sea of Desire you mentioned? Uncle Zhou asked curiously, looking at the flower bud. Yes, once it hatches, Yuanqi's burden will be greatly reduced. A gentle smile flashed in Zhou Yun's eyes, filled with anticipation for the little one who was about to be born. This little guy has been in development for far too long. Zhou Yun originally thought he would be born after the last auction, but he didn't expect to wait another 3,000 years. This was the result of his use of the spirit gathering method. If we wait for it to grow naturally, it might take millions of years. Slap, slap, slap. 3 petals bloomed again, but now only 2 remain unopened. But many creatures could vaguely see what was happening inside. Inside the flower bud was a wriggling ball of 7-colored light. Below, in the plaza, the enchantress and the bone arrived. A glint of light flashed in the enchantress's eyes. She was extremely eager for that 7-colored ball of light. She had a strong intuition that if she could devour the entire flower bud, she might be able to directly advance to the level of a Xiuxian. It is even highly possible that they could even achieve immortality. The life growing within the flower bud was perfectly suited to her. Unfortunately, this was inside the Pengyun merchant ship, a place she could not possibly covet. A hint of disappointment flashed across his expression. White Bone glanced at the enchantress. He naturally sensed the enchantress's thoughts and rushed over as soon as he detected the dissipating aura of desire. However, he did not offer any further advice to the enchantress. Because the enchantress is a smart person, she knows what she can and cannot do. She knows it better than she does herself. Slap. Slap. 2 more crisp sounds rang out, and the flower buds fully bloomed. An intense aura of desire spread outwards like a tide. The minds of many creatures were instantly overwhelmed by the surge of desire, their expressions becoming dazed, and a hint of uncontrollable madness flashed in their eyes. Fortunately, the energy of desire surged back in the next moment, converging towards the ball of light slowly rising from the center of the seven-colored flower. The seven-colored light cluster rose and fell slightly, as if breathing. Looking at the phantom struggling within the ball of light, Zhou Yun found it inexplicably amusing. Looks like I'll have to have a C-section. With a wave of his hand, Zhou Yun sent a beam of light toward the ball of light. A cesarean section is naturally the best option, as it saves the baby some energy. As for whether it will affect the qualifications, of course not. The creatures inside have already taken shape and will not change because of Zhou Yun's intervention. Boom! As the seven-colored ball of light exploded, a sprite the size of a head, its body radiating seven-colored light, flew out. Its seven-colored eyes darted around, and a pair of small, seven-colored wings fluttered behind it. Upon seeing Zhou Yun, she blinked her big eyes, a feeling of familiarity rising in her heart. It transformed into a stream of seven-colored light and rushed into Zhou Yun's arms. With a gentle smile on her face, Zhou Yun reached out and stroked the other person's round little head. He had short hair and looked like a little boy. However, Zhou Yun knew that elves had no gender. All of this is a manifestation of illusion. Master, the little guy pouted, making a soft, sweet voice. From now on, I'll call you Xiao-Qi. Looking at the colorful glow on its body, Zhou Yun casually gave it a name. Thank you, Master. Zhou Yun handed it to Uncle Zhou, saying, This is Uncle Zhou. You must listen to him from now on. Yes, Master. Xiao-Qi looked at Uncle Zhou and greeted him in a soft, sweet voice. Hello, Uncle Zhou. Good, good. Uncle Zhou's face showed a kind smile. Seeing this adorable little guy instantly lifts your spirits. In fact, Zhou Yun knew. This is because this little creature is a deity who controls desires, and can unconsciously stir the emotions of other living beings. Making others feel good about it is just the most basic ability. However, the little guy meant no harm, so Zhou Yun didn't say anything more. As a primordial deity, Xiao-Qi reached the level of a celestial being right after birth. This is because the quality of the desire sea coral is too low. Otherwise, Xiao-Qi's strength would be even greater. Below, the enchantress looked at the little guy being held in Zhou Yun's arms, and some of her thoughts immediately subsided. The other creatures looked on with envy when they saw the little guy. Indeed, being born into a good family is truly a blessing. The other party was born as a member of Pengyun, with a powerful background and unlimited resources for cultivation. They are completely incomparable to them. However, a hint of thought flashed in their eyes. What special abilities does this little guy have? Uncle Zhou, I'm entrusting Xiao-Qi to you. Yes, young master. Uncle Zhou smiled and took Xiao-Qi. Looking at Xiao-Qi in his arms, Uncle Zhou thought of what the young master looked like when he was a child. He wondered if it was just his imagination, but he felt that Xiao-Qi and the young master did look somewhat alike. Xiao-Qi, from now on, this sea of desire coral will be your home. When you're bored, you can go to the Pengyun world to play with other friends. Zhou Yun said softly. Yes, master. Xiao-Qi replied, her figure nestled tightly against Uncle Zhou. Chapter 472 Backlash of Luck. At the moment Xiao-Qi was born, the person most affected in the City of Desire was naturally Wang Nianzu. The pent-up desires within him erupted, instantly immersing Wang Nianzu in an illusion woven from desire. His eyes were filled with the rich, colorful glow of the sunset, and he was obsessed with winning or losing. His win rate at the Fate Showdown poker table also plummeted, dropping to just 10%. 9 out of 10 gamblers lose. The other living beings also noticed this. The god of gamblers is winning less and less, and the number of people queuing up is increasing, all hoping to win a fate point from Wang Nianzu. I won. The person opposite suddenly stood up, his face full of excitement. He never expected that he could win even by making random choices. It seems that you don't need to think when facing the god of gamblers to easily win a game. Just as he was about to sit down and continue, he was suddenly pushed aside by the person next to him. Make way, can't you see how many people are still in line? You. The man was about to retort, but seeing the way everyone was looking at him, he swallowed back what he hadn't finished saying. Then I went to queue up. The game continued, and the players in the queue chatted quietly. What on earth is going on? Why does the god of gamblers seem to have suddenly lost all his luck? Some people had previously speculated that the other party might possess a special constitution related to luck. How could the god of gamblers lose so many times in a row? Who knows? Maybe Lady Luck just abandoned them. Only some beings from the greater world had a vague idea of what was going on. With the development of Pengyun merchant ship, it is connecting to more and more parts of the world. Today, there are more than a dozen great world alone. The knowledge and experience of these beings from the greater world are far beyond what beings from smaller worlds can possess. Luck is unpredictable, but it certainly exists. Some beings with a constitution associated with good fortune are naturally favored by the great Tao, and opportunities often fall from the sky. They can find treasures just by stepping outside. Luck is a consumable resource. It is lost whenever an opportunity arises. The best course of action is to remain hidden for a period of time until one's fortunes recover before emerging from seclusion. Otherwise, if one consumes too much of one's own fortune, one will often suffer a backlash from that fortune. Ultimately, bad luck struck, everything went wrong, and misfortunes followed one after another. They might die in the disaster. Therefore, beings with a luck-based constitution in the great world are often more cautious and will not squander their luck recklessly. They can maintain their own luck at a certain level, enabling them to turn misfortune into good fortune. Opportunities are not the most important thing to them. Their own safety is. Their gazes fell on Wang Nianzu, and a guess formed in their minds. The person known as the god of gamblers was probably a being from a small or medium-sized world who had awakened a luck-related constitution. The city of desire is filled with the aura of desire, so the other party must have already become addicted to desire and unable to extricate themselves. What an unfortunate fellow. They were extremely jealous of this guy. In just 3,000 years, he acquired dozens of chaos treasures, and his own resources exceeded those of some immortal beings. Having acquired so many treasures, one would expect their luck to have been exhausted long ago. They were secretly surprised. This guy must possess a top-tier luck-based physique. Thinking of this, I felt no sympathy whatsoever for the figure that was constantly losing. They were also eager to win a round against their opponent. The information received from the front confirmed to them that this guy had been negatively affected by bad luck. Coupled with the influence of desire, they are now unable to escape. The final outcome is that they have to give back all the treasures they won. It's not so easy to get a bargain from Pengyun merchant ships. Those who try to take advantage of Pengyun merchant ships' good fortune will ultimately suffer the consequences. From the outside, Zhou Yun's gaze fell upon the third floor of the Tower of Desire. Upon seeing the situation inside, a strange smile crept onto his lips. Uncle Zhou, who was holding Xiao Qi, looked in the direction Zhou Yun was looking and asked, "What's wrong, young master?" "Here we go. Start what? The backlash has begun." Zhou Yun withdrew his gaze, and when he saw Huang Sui and the others in the square, he suddenly remembered the matter of Xian Tian. How is Xuantian's development going? Everything is normal. Many people have earned immortal crystals from the Taiyuan Great World. Suddenly, Uncle Zhou paused. "Young master, someone has already exchanged for a creation-level treasure." Oh. A hint of surprise flashed in Zhou Yun's eyes. A creation-level treasure is not something anyone can obtain. It requires an enormous amount of resources. No. Zhou Yun didn't care, as the rules for the exchange tower were already different now. To obtain a creation-level treasure, you must offer at least one top-grade chaos treasure. If he strengthens it, he can obtain another creation-level treasure. Therefore, with this limitation, the number of creation-level treasures inside the Pengyun merchant ship will only increase, not decrease. Listen to Uncle Zhou. Zhou Yun patted Xiao Qi's head. "Then I'll be going now, Uncle Zhou." "Yes, young master." "Goodbye, master." Seeing Zhou Yun leave, Uncle Zhou carried Xiao Qi and strolled around the Pengyun space, mainly introducing the Pengyun merchant ship to the other party. Those below who saw Zhou Yun disappear couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Only those who are extremely familiar with Zhou Yun, such as Huang Sui and Huang Yan, exist. A complex feeling lingered in the back of his eyes. They found themselves increasingly unable to understand Zhou Yun. Huang Sui even had an absurd thought. Zhou Yun's realm might not be inferior to that of the Ice Emperor. But the Ice Emperor is at the peak of the Immortal Emperor realm, just one step away from becoming a Dao ancestor. I can't understand it during a famine. However, Huang Sui's guess was correct. With the transformation of the Pengyun world into a great world, Zhou Yun's realm has become comparable to that of an immortal emperor. However, his strength is connected to the Pengyun world and cannot be classified as an ordinary being. Zhou Yun is more like the heavenly Dao of the Pengyun world. It can mobilize the power of the entire world to resist powerful enemies. Back in the bamboo grove courtyard, Zhou Yun sat down in a chair and poured himself a cup of tea. He had left in such a hurry because he sensed the birth of Xiao Qi that he hadn't had time to examine the harvest of the past few thousand years. With the arrival of those beings from the great world, there should be many more high-level treasures waiting for them to enhance their abilities. Remembering Uncle Zhou's words, I wonder what kind of supreme chaos treasure the being who exchanged for the creation-level treasure left behind. A flag, yellowish-brown in color and surrounded by a thick, heavy yellow aura, appeared before him, giving him an extremely somber feeling. The entire flag seems to contain a world within itself. The flag features a yellow dragon-shaped phantom fluttering in the air. Zhou Yun's eyes lit up. This was the first time he had ever seen a flag-type treasure of this caliber. It's a pretty good item. However, if the rank reaches the supreme chaos treasure level, even the most useless treasure can develop miraculous effects. Strengthen. Golden array patterns appeared, slowly enveloping the entire flag. Chapter 473 The Secret of Pengyun, the Supreme Rule. While waiting, Zhou Yun enhanced all the items he had acquired over thousands of years. Countless golden orbs of light suddenly floated above the courtyard. As time passed, Xiaobai's notification sounds kept ringing in my ears. Zhou Yun kept his gaze fixed on the golden ball of light in front of him. Compared to other items, this supreme chaos treasure is 100% capable of becoming a creation-level treasure, or even a high-level creation-level treasure. Suddenly, Zhou Yun's eyes lit up, and the golden light before him gradually dissipated. Xiaobai's voice rang out at this moment. Congratulations, Master, on completing the 5-fold enhancement and obtaining the mid-grade creation-level treasure, the Xianhuang Reincarnation Banner. The 9-foot-long banner fluttered in the wind, and the illusory image of the dim yellow river appeared, as if it could sweep away everything. On the banner are countless living beings floating in the long river, from birth to death, from death to life, experiencing endless reincarnation. The Xianhuang Reincarnation Banner has a grayish-blue banner pole, seemingly crafted from unknown bones and tree branches. Its surface is covered with Xianhuang patterns, while the banner itself is black with intersecting golden patterns at the center, forming the shape of a long river. Zhou Yun reached out and grasped the giant banner, waving it around. Splash, splash, splash. The sounds of sobbing and flowing water echoed in my ears. The long banner gleamed with a dark yellow luster, and a phantom image of a long river appeared, as if it wanted to pull living beings into it. Let me see your specific effects. As Zhou Yun's voice fell, information about the Xianhuang Reincarnation Banner appeared before their eyes. Item: Black and Yellow Reincarnation Flag. Type: Origin of Reincarnation Rules. Rank: Mid-grade Creation Level Treasure. Effects: Reincarnation and Evolution, can define reincarnation, and generate death. Within the range of the Xianhuang Reincarnation Banner, you can establish rules for reincarnation, allowing living beings to be resurrected. You will be the absolute controller of reincarnation. The foundation of the world can serve as the cornerstone of the world, allowing the world to evolve into the realm of reincarnation, and controlling the reincarnation lifeline of billions of living beings. As the controller of reincarnation, The Transcendent One can reward good and punish evil, accumulating merit, which can assist in one's own cultivation. Details. The Shenhuang Reincarnation Banner, forged from Shenhuang Mother Qi, branches of the World Tree, and the bones of the Reincarnation Dragon, grants the holder the power to wield reincarnation. However, reincarnation is the foundation of the world, and its wielder must possess a fair and just heart. Otherwise, countless beings will be entangled in karma and inevitably perish within the cycle of reincarnation. TSK Tisk. After reading the message, Zhou Yun's eyes were filled with surprise. With a wave of his hand, he unfurled the long banner, and the dark yellow inscription of reincarnation appeared, as an endless river stretched across the heavens and earth. As expected of a mid-grade creation-level treasure, it can directly control the reincarnation of a world. The cycle of life and death in any world is directly controlled by the heavenly Tao. Heaven's way is ruthless, yet it is also compassionate. That is why the world can function normally. The rules of reincarnation are controlled by living beings. If a living being harbors selfish desires, it will inevitably disrupt the operation of the world. In summary, this Shenhuang Wheel banner is definitely a supreme treasure. The key lies in how the holder uses it. Zhou Yun put away the Shenhuang Reincarnation banner, his gaze sweeping over the items in the courtyard, finally settling on one that exuded a strong Taoist aura. This is another Genesis-level treasure that has been enhanced this time. It was a wisp of ethereal, formless, chaotic gas. If you looked closely, you could sense a sense of nothingness. The whole thing presents a cyclone, with a base point at the center of the cyclone, which is in a nothing state. The surface is surrounded by strange phenomena such as broken laws, world remnants, and time dust. A creation-level treasure, its true name is Ruins. Zhou Yun's gaze fell on the invisible gas. He never expected that it would be a single word. This is the first time I've ever seen a treasure with a true name. I waved my hand and pulled it in front of me, my fingertips lightly touching the surface. Specific information about the ruins is presented before us. Item: Ruins. Type: Origin of the rules of return to the void. Rank: Mid-grade creation-level treasure. Effect: Return to nothingness. It can forcibly pull all things into the process of returning to nothingness, and can force the laws, memories, worlds, and living beings to their end. The Tao is contained within the ruins of return. The things decomposed within the ruins of return can evolve into treasures such as the laws of the great Tao, immortal spiritual energy, and world seeds, which can assist the holder in cultivation. The return to the void is a Tao that allows its holder to comprehend the rules of the void and wield the power of endings. Details: Return to nothingness, the rule of the end of all things, is opposed to creation, the rule of the origin of all things. It is a ticket to the highest position, but it will also cause the holder to dissolve into the return to nothingness. Supreme Rules. Zhou Yun pondered for a moment as he looked at the information. This was the first time he had ever received it. Little White, what are the rules for the supreme treasure? Zhou Yun asked Little White in his mind. Owner. Xiao Bai's voice rang out at this moment. There are 4 supreme rules in total: creation, which is the origin of all things; existence, which maintains the constancy of the universe; evolution, which brings infinite possibilities; and return to the void, which pushes everything to a reset. Master, there's no need to overthink it. The supreme rules cannot be controlled by any living being. Then why does the description of this item, Ruins, say that it can help living beings reach the highest position? Zhou Yun asked, voicing his doubts. Since the rules of the supreme treasure cannot be controlled by living beings, why does the description say it is a ticket to the supreme treasure? The introduction was definitely correct, but there were parts he didn't understand. Master, living beings can naturally comprehend the rules of the void through their true name, Void, and even advance to the Tao ancestor level, but that's all. If they try to go further and control the power of the void, they will also be absorbed into that power. Zhou Yun's expression changed. He understood the meaning behind Xiao Bai's words. The moment you take control of the ruins, you may no longer be yourself, but merely a part of that power. How can living beings contend with the supreme will of the rules? One's own weak will is no match for supreme authority. Consciousness collapses and merges into authority. Isn't this another way to become the supreme being? It's just that I've lost all consciousness. Master, there's no need to overthink it. The supreme rules are the rules governing the universe, and they cannot be controlled. Zhou Yun's eyes flickered slightly as he recalled the amazing features of the Pengyun merchant ship. Little White, you can't even control the Pengyun merchant ship. How does the Pengyun merchant ship compare to the supreme rules? Pengyun merchant ship is an invincible force. Zhou Yun felt that the supreme rules, which living beings might not be able to control, could be controlled by the Pengyun merchant ship. Xiaobai did not answer immediately this time. Zhou Yun also became secretly nervous. In his view, the powerful effects of Pengyun merchant ship are no less than those of the supreme rules. Master, you will know when Pengyun merchant ships returns to its former glory. I just didn't expect ruins to appear. Zhou Yun's eyes flickered slightly. That's true. If it weren't for the appearance of this creation-level treasure, ruins, he wouldn't have known about the existence of the supreme rules. The ruins were obtained through enhancement, which shows how powerful enhancement can be. Just then, I heard Xiaobai's voice. Master, have you ever considered that the Pengyun merchant ship is a manifestation of the supreme rules? Boom. Zhou Yun stood there, stunned. Chapter 474 Indulging in Desire. Qiun in Trouble. Xiaobai's words exploded in Zhou Yun's mind like a thunderclap. Pengyun merchant ship possessed such powerful and magical abilities that he had never considered the reason behind them. Looking back now, perhaps only the 4 supreme rules could have accomplished this. Zhou Yun had a guess in his mind. Little by, Pengyun merchant ship controls the evolution rule, which is the highest rule. Evolution has infinite possibilities, which is why it can create such a variety of miracles. That's right. Xiaobai's voice slowly rang out. Evolution gives the universe infinite possibilities. It is the wind of change, the fire of innovation, and the sea of possibilities. It is because of the existence of evolution that the universe is so wonderful. That Pengyun merchant ship. Zhou Yun was interrupted by Xiaobai before he could finish speaking. Master, the Pengyun merchant ship does not belong to this world. It is a wondrous object born within the Chaos Sea. After a pause, Xiaobai continued, the Chaos Sea is the origin of the birth of countless universes. Zhou Yun nodded absent-mindedly and did not ask any further questions. He has received enough information now. It's hard to digest all at once. In any case, all he needs to know is that the Pengyun merchant ship is a manifestation of the supreme rule of evolution. With a wave of his hand, he threw all the items he had upgraded into the exchange tower. He took a sip of the spiritual tea to calm the turmoil in his heart. Looking at the Pengyun merchant ship, which had been upgraded to a major world ship, Zhou Yun's eyes gleamed with anticipation for the future. Time passed slowly, and decades later. During this period, Zhou Yun took advantage of the Pengyun merchant ship's upgrade to a great world to repair the myriad tribulations guiding instrument to 30%. Today, Pengyun merchant ships has connected with hundreds of major worlds. However, Zhou Yun specifically excluded the Taiyuan Great World. Regardless of the circumstances, the Shen Tian realm held a special place in his heart. If the beings of the Taiyuan Great World were allowed to enter the Pengyun merchant ship, it would inevitably cause trouble for the Shen Tian realm's advancement to a great world. Perhaps he will consider connecting to it after he leaves the Shen Tian realm. In the City of Desire, Wang Nianzu was completely bewitched by desire and had lost every time he gambled. The poker table, where fate was at stake, was packed with people. After all, as long as you play a game with the god of gamblers, you're guaranteed to get a fate point. No living being could give up such a rare opportunity. Is this the god of gamblers? Some of the newcomers looked at the figure who had never won, their eyes filled with curiosity. A snickering sound came from the side. Bullshit god of gamblers, more like god of misfortune. Although everyone was laughing, their eyes were full of jealousy. No living being has ever been able to surpass the glory of the god of gamblers. The resources they earned were not lost even after decades. Suddenly, Wang Nianzu slowly stood up and murmured, "No fun, no fun." At this moment, no one could see through the grey fog that Wang Nianzu's eyes were displaying a seven-colored light, and his expression was unfocused. Many creatures turned their gazes to the other party, wondering what had happened to the god of gamblers. "What's going on? I just sat down. Look, he's going to the 4th floor. After losing for decades, I finally couldn't take it anymore. No. Our ATM has run away." Many creatures looked sorrowful, their eyes filled with reluctance. Aside from playing against the god of gamblers, where else can they find a 100% chance to earn fate points? However, many creatures followed behind Wang Nianzu, wanting to see how he would perform on the 4th level. In the midst of a boring cultivation journey, I finally encountered something fun. They certainly wouldn't miss the chance to watch the excitement. The 4th level is the Sea of Greed. An endless sea of stars appeared in the light screen ahead, with hundreds of stars of different colors appearing before my eyes. Wang Nianzu numbly drew one reward after another, but how could he possibly win a prize when he was suffering from the backlash of luck? The resources invested have not made a single ripple. The creatures watching nearby frowned slightly upon seeing this. This is complete nonsense. It feels like they're just handing resources over to Pengyun merchant ships. Given the god of gamblers' 100% losing record, isn't this quite normal? Yeah, do you want him to win? Of course I don't want to. Seeing him win the lottery would be worse than killing me. They came to join in the fun, just to see if the other person would fail to win the prize. This will bring them some comfort. As they watched the other party pour out one treasure after another, the eyes of the many creatures were filled with envy. Just how many resources did this god of gamblers earn on Pengyun merchant ship? Each game on the 3rd floor only requires 10 million Pengyun points, and even after decades, the god of gamblers' resources have not been exhausted. However, the 4th level is completely different. Each draw requires investing a treasure. Even the god of gamblers can't withstand this kind of consumption, no matter how much resources he has. Thinking of this, many creatures revealed a secret joy in their eyes. Previously, the glorious moment when the god of gamblers swept through the entire Tower of Desire had made them extremely envious. Now, they've finally gotten their comeuppance. Only some creatures of the greater world have become wary of the City of Desire. I silently reminded myself that I must guard my true self and not indulge in desires. Otherwise, you'll lose even your underwear in the end. During this period, Qingyuan Holy City was exceptionally prosperous. The entire holy city was decorated with lanterns and colorful clouds. The spiritual energy within the city was more than twice as strong as before, and the streets were filled with people coming and going. Because of the sacred site of Qingyuan, the Qingyuan festival, which takes place once every 1,000 years, has begun. In the square, many creatures who came to participate in the Qingyuan festival were filled with surprise when they saw the Qiyun Chamber of Commerce with its gates tightly closed. Why is the Qiyun Chamber of Commerce closed? It is said that they were suppressed by the 9 Heavens Chamber of Commerce, and the Ice Emperor was injured by the Holy Lord and is currently healing. Sigh, what a pity. I actually prefer buying things from the Qiyun Chamber of Commerce. Who isn't? We cultivators without any background will only be looked down upon in the 9 Heavens Chamber of Commerce. Many creatures whispered among themselves, and many of them were heading straight for the Qiyun Chamber of Commerce. I never expected the Qiyun Chamber of Commerce to close down. Meanwhile, inside the Qiyun Chamber of Commerce, in a room on the top floor, Elder Fei was respectfully pouring tea for the people from Qingyuan Holy Land. The Qingyuan Festival, which occurs once every 1,000 years, is also a time to collect resources. All forces and shops within the Qingyuan Holy Land are required to contribute a large amount of resources. As for how many resources to pay, that's up to Qingyuan Shengdao. If they cannot provide the resources, they may be expelled from the holy city, or even killed on the spot, as a warning to others. Of course, those targeted were small shops with no background or connections. According to custom, the Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce requires a payment of 100 low-grade source stones. Elder Fei's expression hardened, and he looked up at Elder Qingyuan in surprise. Elder, wasn't it always 10 low-grade source stones in the past? The elder from Qingyuan Holy Land glanced at Elder Fei and let out a cold laugh. Past is past, this time it's 100 low-grade source stones. Do you have any objections? If you can't hand it over, get out of the holy city. Chapter 475 The Ice Emperor's Tribulation, Bonus Chapter. Professor Fei stood respectfully to the side, inwardly smiling bitterly. The Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce can no longer afford 100 low-grade source stones. The Ice Emperor's exchange for the myriad tribulations returning to Origin Pill has already depleted Xiuxian's resources. For thousands of years, the Zhou Chamber of Commerce has been at odds with the Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce. Without the Ice Emperor's presence, the Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce had no choice but to back down. No resources were earned at all. If it's as usual, paying 10 low-grade source stones will allow you to withdraw. 100 is way too many. Moreover, Professor Fei clearly sensed the other party's intention to target him. He suspected that this must be related to the Nine Heavens Chamber of Commerce. This is clearly an attempt to drive the Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce out of Qingyuan Holy City. Elder, the Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce cannot afford it. The elder of Qingyuan Holy Land frowned slightly. He was indeed intentionally targeting Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce. But he also wanted to gain some benefits from the Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce. A sense of oppressive power spread out, and a deep voice rang out. Are you lying to me? How could the Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce not be able to produce even 100 low-grade source stones? Feeling the oppressive aura emanating from the other party, Elder Fei felt disdain. We're all immortal venerables. What's so great about that? If the other party wasn't from the Qingyuan Holy Land, he would have wanted to slap them across the face. Unfortunately, the Qingyuan Holy Land is too powerful. Now is a critical moment, and we must not cause trouble for the Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce. Elder Fei said respectfully. Elder, the Ice Emperor was punished by the Holy Lord and used all the source stones to exchange for treasures to heal his injuries. The elders of Qingyuan Holy Land did not doubt what Elder Fei said. After all, the news that the Ice Emperor had been injured by the Holy Lord had already spread throughout Qingyuan Holy City. However, the injuries left by the power of rules are not so easy to heal. He sighed inwardly. It seems I won't be able to extract any resources from the Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce. However, driving the Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce out of Qingyuan Holy City would be considered a successful mission. Presumably, Emperor Wanbao will not be stingy. He could still make a profit from Wanbao Dijuan. Get out of the holy city within 3 months. A cold voice rang out, and the gaze turned to Elder Fei's figure. Qingyuan Holy City does not nurture useless things. Mr. Fei was furious. What useless thing? The Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce pays 10 low-grade source stones every 1,000 years. Are they all just being absorbed by pigs? But outwardly he respectfully replied. Yes. You are not allowed to take anything with you. I will immediately have the disciples of the Qingyuan Holy Land take over the entire Chamber of Commerce. Elder Fei looked up at the elder before him. His eyes filled with surprise and doubt. They're not going to hide it anymore. They're planning to completely devour the Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce. Laugh. A disdainful chuckle rang out. What? You disagree? Professor Fei was extremely unwilling. Is the Qingyuan Holy Land really this unreasonable? But they quickly calmed down. The cultivation world has always been a place where might makes right, and it's not a place to reason. Just as he was about to agree. Boom! A clap of thunder echoed through the void, seemingly from the horizon, yet also from within one's mind. Everyone in the room tensed up, a look of shock flashing in their eyes. The people of Qingyuan Holy Land looked panicked. What's going on? Where is this terrifying pressure coming from? Everyone got up and walked outside. Professor Fei followed behind them, but he had a vague idea in his mind. Your Majesty, did your Majesty succeed? The divine might just now was something that ordinary immortal emperors could not match. Only the tribulation of advancing to the Tao Ancestor stage can trigger it. Suppressing my excitement, I arrived outside the Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce. At this moment, all living beings in the city looked up at the distant void. The sky was completely covered by tribulation lightning, and streaks of lightning flashed, like electric snakes drilling into the void. What happened? I almost fell on my butt just now. Who isn't? A cold sweat broke out on my back. I wonder what kind of heavenly tribulation it is, that its scope is so vast. Yes, the entire Taiyuan great world has been affected. A murmur of discussion arose from the crowd, their eyes fixed on the flashing lightning in the sky. Many living beings have never seen such a terrifying calamity. Only a few long-lived immortal beings had eyes full of horror. They had seen this scene before. That was the tribulation that occurred when one ascends to the Tao Ancestor level. But how could a new Tao Ancestor appear in the great world of Taiyuan? The three holy lands joined forces to continuously plunder and exploit other forces, and even seized control of creation-level treasures. The other living beings had no chance of advancing to the Tao Ancestor level. Suddenly, a blue avenue stretched across the sky and pierced through the void. The pupils of many living beings contracted sharply upon hearing the voice on the blue avenue. The Holy Lord of Azure Origin. The appearance of the Azure Origin Saint Lord has confirmed the previous speculations of many beings. In the great world of Taiyuan, a new Tao Ancestor has indeed appeared. This also foreshadows the breaking of the previous balance and the re-establishment of the rules of the Taiyuan great world. They just didn't know who was undergoing tribulation. It's unknown whether the other party can successfully overcome the heavenly tribulation and advance to the Tao Ancestor level. I had no other thoughts about this unknown existence. Because the 3 or 4 Tao Ancestors of the Taiyuan great world have nothing to do with them. Of those present, only Professor Fei looked worried and kept praying silently. If the Ice Emperor successfully transcends his tribulation, he will ascend to the Tao Ancestor level. The current difficulties faced by the Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce will all be resolved. The Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce will also take this opportunity to become the #1 Chamber of Commerce in the Taiyuan Great World, no longer limited to the Qingyuan Holy Land, but possessing the strength to expand to the entire world. In the boundless void, the Ice Emperor stood aloof beneath the heavenly tribulation. Seeing the tribulation lightning slowly accumulating, he felt completely calm. With the aid of the myriad tribulations returning to Origin Pill, she was 100% confident of surviving the heavenly tribulation. The recent heavenly tribulations have already proven that the myriad tribulations returning to Origin Pill can indeed weaken heavenly tribulations and has a strong ability to resist tribulation lightning. Suddenly, the Ice Emperor glanced at a spot outside the range of the heavenly tribulation, and a slight smile appeared on his lips. Outside the heavenly tribulation, 3 figures arrived, their gazes falling upon the figure beneath the tribulation lightning. How could it be her? Qingyuan Saint Lord exclaimed in surprise, his eyes filled with disbelief. 3,000 years ago, he injured the Ice Emperor. Even without using its full strength, it would take at least hundreds of thousands of years to recover without external assistance. Logically speaking, the Ice Emperor should be healing his injuries. So how could he have advanced to the Tao Ancestor level? The 2 people beside him were both kind-faced elderly men with ruddy complexions and a strong aura of life emanating from them. He is the eternal lord of the immortal temple. The other handsome man, exuding an ancient aura, was the 9-tailed fox emperor of the ancient demon court. Hearing Qingyuan Saint Lord's exclamation, he turned his head to look. A captivating smile appeared between the 9-tailed fox emperor's brows. Holy Lord, do you perhaps know someone undergoing tribulation? Ice Emperor, Immortal Emperor, owner of a merchant guild within Qingyuan Holy City. The Qingyuan Holy Lord's voice was icy. In the great world of Taiyuan, any newly emerging Tao Ancestor will compete with them for resources. What's more, the Ice Emperor has a grudge against him. Chapter 476 Ice Emperor Advances to Tao Ancestor. Of the three present, Qing Yuan Saint Lord was the least willing to see Ice Emperor ascend to Tao Ancestor status. In particular, the Ice Emperor, who used to be able to only bow down and look up at him, is now on equal footing with him. This is something that the Holy Lord Qing Yuan cannot accept. However, the calamity had already occurred, and no one could stop it anymore. Beside them, the Eternal Palace Master and the Nine-Tailed Fox Emperor naturally noticed the change in Qing Yuan Saint Master's expression and exchanged a glance. His eyes sparkled with different emotions. Actually, I didn't need to think about it. I already had some guesses in my mind. Someone you once trampled underfoot and regarded as an ant suddenly reached the same level as you. My feelings will naturally be somewhat complicated. Moreover, the merchant guild to which the Ice Emperor belongs is located within Qing Yuan Holy City, and will inevitably clash with the Qing Yuan Holy Lord in the future. The Nine-Tailed Fox Emperor was secretly relieved that it wasn't a creature from their territory that had advanced. The three holy lands seem to be working together to set the rules of the Taiyuan Great World, but there is also competition between them. But now I'm quite interested in the relationship between the Qing Yuan Saint Lord and this newly promoted Tao Ancestor. They waited quietly to the side. The tribulation has begun. Now it remains to be seen whether the other side can overcome it. However, they all had one question in their minds. It has been a long time since a creation-level treasure has appeared in the Taiyuan Great World. How did the other party manage to advance to that level? As Tao Ancestors, they were extremely clear about this. The Tao Ancestor didn't achieve that status solely through his talent. More importantly, it was through a stroke of luck. The great world of Taiyuan is filled with so many immortal venerables and immortal emperors, whose talents are in no way lacking, they just lack an opportunity to advance. But opportunity is the most elusive thing. Unpredictable, undetectable, and even harder to catch. Boom, boom, boom. Thousands upon thousands of bolts of lightning struck down, causing the clouds in the void to churn and flash with lightning. The intense and dense lightning attracted the attention of the three Tao Ancestors. They all frowned, sensing that something was amiss with this heavenly tribulation. The Holy Lord of Qing Yuan asked first, "Don't you all feel that this heavenly tribulation, though seemingly fierce, is actually much weaker?" The Lord of the Eternal Palace nodded, imagining the dense purple lightning in the void. "It's 30% weaker than the tribulation of an ordinary Tao Ancestor." The Lord of the Eternal Palace was the first among them to advance to the Tao Ancestor level, and his lifespan was also longer than theirs. Therefore, upon hearing the Eternal Palace Master's reply, the Azure Origin Saint Master's expression darkened. This is not what he wanted to see. The Nine-Tailed Fox Emperor beside him joked, "You don't actually think the other side wasn't prepared, do you?" They all knew that without obtaining the right opportunity, it was impossible to advance to the level of a Tao Ancestor. Even if a being tries to force its way through the bottleneck of the Tao Ancestor based on its own inherent strength, it will still be ineffective. They too will perish and their souls will vanish under the heavenly tribulation. We've blocked all promotion channels and are ruthlessly exploiting the resources of other forces. Where did they find this opportunity from? A hint of madness appeared on Qing Yuan Saint Lord's face. He already had some premonition about the impact that the Ice Emperor's ascension to Tao Ancestor would have on him. Of the three Tao Ancestors, the Ice Emperor had the greatest influence on him. He cannot accept the Ice Emperor's advancement. The Lord of the Eternal Palace stood quietly to one side. He had lived for so long that he no longer cared about external affairs, and he was actually happy to see the Ice Emperor ascend to the Tao Ancestor level. Finally, a new person has appeared in the Taiyuan Great World. He never participated in suppressing other living beings to advance to the Tao Ancestor level. However, when the Azure Origin Saint Lord and the Nine-Tailed Fox Emperor joined forces to establish the rules, they did not choose to stop them. He was like an observer. But he didn't stop it, which indirectly became his cooperation. He always felt that there were too few Tao Ancestors in the Taiyuan Great World, and he once went to one of those great worlds. It seems to be called the Universal World. The opposing world's laws are more complete, and it possesses more than 10 Tao ancestors. Among them, the strongest overlord-level force, the Heavenly Chen Divine Palace, even has 3 Tao ancestors presiding over it. Ancestor Tianchen has reached the peak of Tao ancestor, and one more step would allow him to completely transcend. Thinking of the prosperity of the great world, the Lord of the Eternal Palace's eyes gleamed. If the Tao ancestor arbitrarily suppresses the advancement of beings within a world, it will not help the world's growth. Because the world and living beings have a mutually supportive relationship. When a living being ascends to the level of a Tao ancestor, it can perfect and stabilize the laws of the world. If he were to suppress other living beings like the Azure Origin Saint Lord and the Nine-Tailed Fox Emperor, the Azure Origin Saint Lord and the Nine-Tailed Fox Emperor had no chance of advancement. Unfortunately, these 2 younger colleagues who were later promoted did not listen to what he said. To maintain their rule, they completely blocked any path for successors. He would never do something like blocking someone's path. Boom, boom, boom. The lightning bolts were falling even more violently. It was the final moment. The Ice Emperor's expression also became serious. She possessed the effects of the myriad tribulations returning to Origin Pill, and a ball of chaotic energy gathered within her body, continuously spreading throughout her body to repair her injuries. This allows her to maintain her peak condition. At the moment the heavenly tribulation descended, the Ice Emperor fully released the chaotic energy within his body, which swirled around him to resist the power of the tribulation. Seeing the chaotic energy collide with the heavenly tribulation, the Ice Emperor breathed a slight sigh of relief. She knew that this tribulation was no longer dangerous. Blue light emanated from her body, and a violent aura of immortal energy converged towards her. The temperature of the surrounding space dropped instantly, and the space itself seemed to freeze. The 3 Tao ancestors watching from afar had slight changes in their expressions. They looked at the figure that remained unharmed within the grayish-white gas with varying expressions. A complex light flashed in Qingyuan Saint Lord's eyes. He knew that everything could no longer be stopped. However, a newly promoted Tao ancestor could not pose a great threat to him. A strange light flashed in the Nine-Tailed Fox Emperor's eerie eyes. The Lord of the Eternal Palace once told him that it would be a good thing for the great world of Taiyuan for living beings to advance to the level of Tao ancestor. But as the Demon Emperor, he feared that other living beings would threaten his rule. Especially demons and other creatures. But as the Ice Emperor advanced, this frozen world finally began to turn again. He had a strong feeling in his heart. The Ice Emperor's advancement will have a huge impact on this world. After all, the Ice Emperor's advancement was too strange and too abrupt. They were promoted without their knowledge. Moreover, the fact that the other party overcame the tribulation so easily shows that the opportunity they found was extremely suitable for breaking through the bottleneck of the Tao ancestor. Where did the Ice Emperor get his opportunity? This was something he could never understand. Not bad. A kind smile appeared on the face of the Eternal Palace Master. He was extremely happy to see such a talented newcomer. The foundation of the Taiyuan Great World has been strengthened once again. Moreover, he shared the same premonition as the Nine-Tailed Fox Emperor. The Ice Emperor will bring about earth-shattering changes to this long-silent world. They all suspected that the Ice Emperor must possess a huge secret. Chapter 477 The Laws of the Wind, the Eternal Whisper of Frost. The sky was filled with rosy clouds, and deep blue clouds gathered, while the power of the icy Tao principles surged towards the Ice Emperor below. At the moment the strange phenomenon appeared, everything around seemed to freeze. Time, space, everything. In the distance, the Lord of the Eternal Palace stretched out his palm. A wisp of blue light spread onto my hand, condensing into a layer of bone-chilling frost. The immortal spiritual power within his body momentarily stagnated. If he hadn't already possessed the late-stage Tao ancestor realm, he probably wouldn't have dared to easily touch the Ice Emperor's rule power. For example, the Azure Origin Saint Lord and the Nine-Tailed Fox Emperor standing next to them. As the blue Taoist aura emanated, a protective shield immediately rose around his body, enveloping him within it. They were only at the early stage of Tao ancestor, and their cultivation level was far inferior to that of the Eternal Palace Master. There was still some apprehension about this ice-based rule that seemed capable of freezing everything. In particular, now is a time of divine blessing, and the emerging ice-type rules will be even more powerful. However, they were all carefully observing the rules that the Ice Emperor possessed. Only by fully understanding your opponent can you avoid being at a disadvantage in subsequent competition. The Holy Lord of Azure Origins slowly reached out his hand, carefully touching the power of the rules and sensing the characteristics within the power. There was no other way. Among the 3 Tao ancestors present, there will inevitably be conflict and competition between him and the Ice Emperor in the future. The moment he touched the blue light, the Azure Origin Saint Lord's face immediately darkened. The power of rules that he himself comprehended was the wind of law. It places more emphasis on speed and cutting. Symbolizing agility, dissemination, freedom, and rhythm, it is more of a support role. Apart from being faster, its combat ability is far inferior to that of the other Tao ancestors. For example, the 9-tailed Fox Emperor was born for battle. As a 9-tailed celestial fox, he was born with the power of 9 laws, and he even used this to advance to the Tao ancestor. Despite possessing the strength of an early-stage Tao ancestor, the Fox Emperor was able to unleash power comparable to that of a mid-stage Tao ancestor. This is the true holy body of battle. However, given the survival of the fittest elimination mechanism of the demon race, it is not surprising that the Fox Emperor possesses formidable fighting talent. Now, the power of rules that the Ice Emperor has comprehended is precisely biased towards stillness. This is not a time stop according to the time rules. Instead, it utilizes the properties of ice to freeze everything around it, achieving stillness in a physical sense. This is precisely what gives him such strong self-control. Previously, he thought he had a deeper foundation than the Ice Emperor and was not afraid of a newly promoted Tao ancestor. But now, he gradually lost confidence. His only advantage, speed, was completely negated in front of the Ice Emperor. Damn it! Pengyun Saint Master cursed under his breath. Beside her, the 9-tailed fox's eyes flickered slightly, a hint of interest on her face. He was actually looking forward to the battle between the two of them. Pengyun Saint Lord, this rabbit that only knows how to run away is probably going to get caught by the tail. He had naturally fought with Pengyun Saint Lord before, but Pengyun Saint Lord was too fast, and he couldn't defeat him. Now, finally someone has appeared who can restrain the other party. Moreover, there was a past conflict between the two. At the same time, strange phenomena were seen in the sky throughout the entire Taiyuan Great World. As the blue halo spread out, all living beings shivered. A sense of awe rose involuntarily in their hearts. The heavenly Tao was telling them that a new Tao ancestor had appeared in the world. The Tao ancestor ascended to the rank of Tao, announcing it to the world, and all spirits paid homage. In front of the Qiyun Chamber of Commerce, Elder Fei looked towards the place where the ice-blue auspicious clouds gathered in the void, his eyes gradually becoming moist. He knew that it was all over. All the previous forbearance and humiliation will vanish with the return of the Ice Emperor. Are you sick in the head? Hearing the sobbing, the elder of Pengyun Holy Land turned to look at Elder Fei. This is a celebration of the successful ascension of a new Tao ancestor. What's with the crying? Professor Fei did not reply, but raised his hand to wipe away the tears from the corners of his eyes, with a faint smile on his face. Seeing the strange expression on his face, the elder of Pengyun Holy Land said with disdain, "You'd better get out of Pengyun Holy City as soon as possible, or we won't be so polite next time." Snort. A cold snort came, and Elder Fei took a few steps back. The crowds gathered elsewhere were also whispering among themselves. Who exactly has advanced to the Tao ancestor level? Is there any need to guess? It must be people from the 3 holy lands. They took all the creation-level treasures. That's right. The greatest opportunity, the creation-level treasure that might only be formed once every billions of years in the world, has been seized by them. How can other living beings have any chance to advance? Let's just enjoy the show. It's none of our business. This really has nothing to do with them. They are all beings below the immortal level, or human immortals and earth immortals. They are still a long way from immortality, let alone the Tao ancestor realm. The most poignant figures are those like the Celestial Venerable and the Celestial Emperor. They too long to seize their own opportunities and take another step forward. How could they not know something that even ordinary living beings know? The opportunities for advancement in the Taiyuan Great World are monopolized by the three Holy Lands. If one is not from one of the three Holy Lands, there is absolutely no chance to compete for these opportunities. Looking towards the place where the auspicious blue clouds gathered, my eyes were filled with envy. How they wished they were the ones being promoted. Amidst the icy blue light, a graceful figure slowly emerged, her long, neat black hair cascading down to her waist, her exquisite face concealed by an icy blue veil. Snowflake-like Tao patterns swirled in his blue eyes, and his entire body exuded a Tao aura that made people dare not look directly at him. The Ice Emperor's gaze fell on three figures not far away. She was naturally very familiar with the three Tao ancestors of the Taiyuan Great World. In the past, these were people she could only look up to. Now she has finally reached that position herself. Deep in his eyes, a trace of excitement and exhilaration from advancing to the next round still lingered. A path of frost appeared beneath his feet, and the Ice Emperor walked toward the three Tao ancestors. A hint of resentment flashed in the eyes of the Holy Lord Qingyuan. A complex expression appeared on the nine-tailed fox emperor's face. Only the Lord of the Eternal Palace smiled kindly and nodded gently to the Ice Emperor. Upon approaching, the Ice Emperor respectfully bowed to the Lord of the Eternal Palace. The Ice Emperor greets the Lord of the Eternal Palace. Get up. The Lord of the Eternal Palace stepped forward to help the Ice Emperor up, and said with a smile, "That's right, the great world of Taiyuan now has another Tao ancestor, which is a good thing for the world. Congratulations to the Ice Emperor on his ascension to the Tao ancestor." The nine-tailed fox emperor also suppressed his thoughts and stepped forward to offer his congratulations. Regardless of his attitude towards Ice Emperor's advancement, the Ice Emperor is already a Tao ancestor, having reached the same level as him, so naturally he should be treated as an equal. Greetings, Fox Emperor. Of those present, only the Holy Lord Qingyuan stood still, without making any statement. The Ice Emperor naturally noticed this as well, but didn't say anything more. After chatting for a few minutes with the Lord of the Eternal Palace and the Fox Emperor, the Ice Emperor looked up at the Azure Origin Saint Lord. She naturally knew Qingyuan Saint Lord very well. Among the three Tao ancestors, he was the weakest. The power of rules he comprehended, the law of wind, was just right to be countered by her eternal frost whisper. Chapter 478 Ice Emperor, Azure Origin Saint Lord, Bonus Chapter. Eternal Frost Whisper can freeze everything in the world, creating a time-stopping effect within its domain comparable to the laws of time. Moreover, it possesses extremely powerful offensive capabilities. Therefore, the Ice Emperor, who had just advanced to the Tao ancestor level, had no fear of the Azure Origin Saint Lord. In their battle of wits, she was absolutely certain of a complete victory. Looking at the Holy Lord Qingyuan, he said in a cold voice, "Holy Lord, the Nine Heavens Chamber of Commerce is no longer necessary. From now on, the Qiyun Chamber of Commerce will become the #1 Chamber of Commerce in the Taiyuan Great World." The Ice Emperor spoke with a resolute tone, as if he were stating a fact rather than discussing it. Impossible. Qingyuan Saint Lord immediately objected. Chambers of commerce, regardless of their power, serve as an important channel for providing resources to those powers. Moreover, with the Ice Emperor's advancement, the Qiyun Chamber of Commerce will certainly no longer contribute resources. If even the Nine Heavens Chamber of Commerce is lost. Therefore, the resources that Qingyuan Holy Land can obtain will be directly reduced by 30%. This is a good thing. With the Ice Emperor ascending to the Tao ancestor level, the Qiyun Chamber of Commerce will naturally become the #1 Chamber of Commerce in the Taiyuan Great World. I wholeheartedly support it. The nine-tailed fox emperor said with a smile in his eyes. Unlike humans, the demon race is not good at business. Therefore, I do not oppose the Ice Emperor's decision. Furthermore, the Ice Emperor Development Chamber of Commerce will not participate in the territorial disputes. This did him no harm whatsoever. Indeed, the Ice Emperor has ascended to the Dao Ancestor level, so naturally he should enjoy the corresponding status and resources. The First Chamber of Commerce is excellent. The Eternal Saint Lord also nodded in agreement. The Holy Lord of Qingyuan looked at the 3 Dao ancestors before him, his face turning ashen. In terms of strength, both the Eternal Palace Master and the 9-tailed Fox Emperor are stronger than him. Is he really going to be afraid of a newly promoted Dao ancestor? Even if the power of the rules restrains him, so what? A gentle breeze swept by, and a blue vortex rippled around the Azure Origin Saint Lord. The 9-tailed Fox Emperor's eyes lit up. Yes, let's have a fight, the winner takes all. The Lord of the Eternal Palace frowned slightly, but said nothing more. Resources must be fought for. Even the Dao ancestor had to fight for them. Since both sides have decided that they cannot reach an agreement, then let them fight it out. The 9-tailed Fox Emperor and the Lord of the Eternal Palace flew away into the distance, leaving enough space for the two to fight. The Ice Emperor looked coldly at the Azure Origin Saint Lord, his body radiating blue light, and a layer of frost spread out beneath his feet, causing the breeze blowing through the surrounding space to freeze slightly. In the distance, a glimmer of light appeared in the eyes of the 9-tailed Fox Emperor. Senior, who do you think will win? The Lord of the Eternal Palace shook his head slightly and stood quietly to the side, without answering the Fox Emperor. But the Fox Emperor continued, I think the Ice Emperor will win. In fact, they all knew that the Ice Emperor held an absolute advantage, and even the Azure Origin Saint Lord himself knew this. It's just that I'm unwilling to accept it. I don't want to be trampled on by the younger generation I used to trample on. Knowing they were no match, they still fought. Thousands of illusory figures flickered, and countless cyan rays of light shuttled through the space. The Holy Lord of Azure Origin has completely transformed into the wind. Each wisp of wind is both his true form and an illusion. Upon seeing this, the Ice Emperor unleashed the full power of the rules. A layer of frost spread outwards, and the temperature dropped instantly. The wind in the space seemed to freeze for a moment, and even when Qingyuan Saint Lord used all his strength, his speed was 100 times slower than before. A sudden chill ran through him, and a look of astonishment flashed in his eyes. Although I had expected it, I didn't expect the effect of restraint to be so great. After locating the figure of the Azure Origin Saint Lord, the two sides engaged in battle. Clap, clap, clap. In the distance, the 9-tailed Fox Emperor clapped and cheered. Finally, someone has appeared who can restrain the Azure Origin Saint Lord. In past competitions, he was stronger than Qingyuan Saint Lord, but he had no way to deal with him. Neither his speed nor the fact that his opponent could transform into countless shadowy figures made it impossible for him to catch the Azure Origin Saint Lord. He was happiest when he saw Qingyuan Saint Lord suffer a setback. At the same time, his gaze fell upon the frost that was constantly accumulating in the void, and his expression gradually became solemn. Senior, the Ice Emperor seems to be stronger than I imagined, and he doesn't look like he just advanced at all. Yes, the opportunity obtained by the Ice Emperor must be extremely suitable for breaking through. The Lord of the Eternal Palace had already discovered it. The Ice Queen's foundation is very solid, which must be related to the opportunities she has received. Moreover, water is the softest, and ice is the hardest. The ice elemental rules even possess a destructive power comparable to the rules of destruction. The Eternal Palace Master paused, then continued. How could the Azure Origin Saint Lord, when he is being restrained, possibly be a match for him? Upon hearing this, the Fox Emperor nodded in agreement. As the power of frost accumulated, the wind's movement visibly slowed down. The howling wind had no effect on the Ice Emperor. For ordinary living beings, the Azure Origin Saint Lord is undoubtedly powerful. This is a complete crushing defeat in terms of skill level. However, when facing the Ice Emperor, who was also a Dao ancestor, Qingyuan Saint Lord's attacks seemed extremely weak. As expected, he's the weakest Dao ancestor. Besides being fast, he's good for nothing. the Fox Emperor muttered to himself. The rise of the Ice Emperor is unstoppable. As the Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce becomes the #1 Chamber of Commerce, it will inevitably take away a lot of resources from the Qingyuan Holy Land. The Qingyuan Holy Land is slowly declining. However, it's only compared to those three companies. As long as the Qingyuan Saint Lord exists, no fifth Dao ancestor will appear in the Taiyuan Great World. Therefore, Qingyuan Holy Land remains the fourth most powerful entity. Bang! The Ice Emperor's eyes narrowed the moment he saw the figure of the Azure Origin Saint Lord. A cold light shot out and struck the chest of the Azure Origin Saint Master. As the wind and shadow dissipated, the Azure Origin Saint Lord coughed up blood and flew backward. The bloodstains at the corner of his mouth gleamed with a frosty sheen, exuding a chilling aura. The Holy Lord Qingyuan looked up at the blue figure not far away, his eyes filled with resentment. However, a chilling frosty power lingered within his lungs, causing his body to harden, his blood flow to slow, and even his spiritual and divine powers to become blocked. We've lost. He has no choice but to face it, no matter how unwilling he is to accept it. He ultimately lost, defeated by this newly promoted junior. From now on, Qingyuan Holy Land will forever be trampled underfoot by Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce. A bitter smile appeared on his face. He then looked up at the Ice Emperor and said, "I acknowledge the status of the Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce. The Zhoutian Chamber of Commerce no longer exists at this moment." Without even saying goodbye to the Eternal Palace Master and the Nine-Tailed Fox Emperor, his figure vanished into the blue wind. "Senior Fox Emperor, I have to go now." Ice Emperor was eager to return and share this good news with Elder Fei. Moreover, she did not trust the Holy Lord Qingyuan. Fearing that the other party would be angered, they vented their anger on the Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce. Although she knew that the Holy Lord Qingyuan was unlikely to dare to take the risk, she was unwilling to gamble. "Go ahead, we can meet again another time," the Eternal Palace Master said with a smile. He actually quite liked this newly ascended Dao ancestor, even more so than the Fox Emperor and the Azure Origin Saint Lord. The main reason is that the other party lacks the desire to control power, but only has the determination to pursue the Tao. We cultivators should aim to break through to higher realms, rather than focusing on the power we hold. Nodding to the two, the Ice Emperor transformed into ice crystals and dissipated. Chapter 479, Part 1. Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce. After leaving, the Holy Lord Qingyuan wiped away the blood that had congealed into ice crystals at the corner of his mouth, a trace of resentment flashing in his eyes. He climbed step by step to his current position, enduring countless dangers along the way. He thought that once he became the Dao ancestor, no one would pose a threat to him anymore. Unexpectedly, he was overtaken by a junior. Especially since this junior comes from Qingyuan Holy City. He maintained strict control over the Qingyuan Holy Land, eliminating any possible opportunities for advancement. Even among the three Holy Lands, the Qingyuan Holy Land exploits the other forces the most. He couldn't understand how the Ice Emperor had obtained the opportunity for advancement. Within the Azure Origin Holy City, a flash of azure light streaked across the horizon. The creatures below were taken aback and began to discuss amongst themselves in hushed tones. "It's the return of the Azure Origin Saint Lord. I wonder who has advanced. It seems the heavenly tribulation has ended, and now there is another Dao ancestor. Sigh, I hope it won't cause any turmoil. I just want to cultivate in peace. You really have no ambition at all. The more turbulent the times, the more opportunities you can seize. Everyone understands this principle, but a small number of people don't want to compete. They knew that opportunities often come with risks. With their strength, how can they compete with those high-level cultivators? Of those present, only the people from Qingyuan Holy Land showed signs of excitement. Everything in the Qingyuan Holy Land exists in reliance on the Holy Lord, and everyone in the Qingyuan Holy Land holds the Holy Lord in the highest esteem. In front of the Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce, an elder from the Qingyuan Holy Land looked at Elder Fei and said, "Get out of here. The Qingyuan Holy Land is not something you can mess with." After he finished speaking, he saw the gaze directed at him by the Holy Lord. Many disciples of the Qingyuan Holy Land immediately knelt on the ground, their expressions respectful. "Greetings, Holy Lord." Qingyuan Saint Lord stood in the void, his gaze falling on the Qiyun Chamber of Commerce. When he once descended upon the Qiyun Chamber of Commerce, even the Ice Emperor could only kneel at his feet. In just a few thousand years, tremendous changes have taken place. He is no match for the Ice Emperor. Sensing the injuries within his body, his eyes flashed with rage, and azure Daoist energy manifested around him, unleashing a powerful pressure. The numerous creatures below prostrated themselves on the ground under the Holy Lord's oppressive aura, their expressions filled with terror. They sensed an irresistible killing intent. The commotion here had already alerted the entire Qingyuan holy city. The figure of Emperor Wanbao appeared beside the Holy Lord Qingyuan, looking in the direction of the Holy Lord's aura. Upon seeing that the Holy Lord's target was the Qiyun Chamber of Commerce, a hint of secret joy flashed in your eyes. Is the Holy Lord about to take action against the Qiyun Merchant Guild? This was something he had been looking forward to for a long time. Once the Qiyun Chamber of Commerce is destroyed, the Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce will become the only Chamber of Commerce within the Qingyuan Holy Land. They even used the Qingyuan Holy Land to become the #1 business association in the Taiyuan Great World. Previously, he had been extremely envious when he sensed someone advancing to the Dao ancestor level. He wanted to expand the Nine Heavens Chamber of Commerce, as this was the only way to gain access to more resources. They have a chance to obtain a creation-level treasure. Every immortal emperor aims to become a Dao ancestor. He was no exception. In front of the Qiyun Chamber of Commerce, Old Fei lay prostrate on the ground, cold sweat dripping from his forehead. The killing intent emanating from the azure origin Saint Lord remained locked onto him, preventing him from moving an inch. With his immortal venerable strength, Qingyuan Saint Lord could crush him into ashes with just a wisp of his power. Suddenly, a streak of blue light appeared from the sky and swept across the Qingyuan holy city. The oppressive aura emanating from the Holy Lord dissipated instantly, and everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Old Fei looked up at the slowly emerging blue figure, his eyes filled with excitement. It was a success. The Ice Emperor has returned. Moreover, since the Ice Emperor was able to so easily dispel the Holy Lord's pressure, he must have already advanced to the Dao ancestor level. The creatures within the holy city looked up at the woman in blue who had appeared, and their vision blurred for a moment as they looked at her. I always felt like there was a blue halo obscuring my vision. This prevented them from truly seeing the person approaching. However, I already had a guess in my mind. This must be the newly promoted Dao ancestor. However, he was unclear as to why the other party had appeared in Qingyuan holy city. Ice Emperor, how is this possible? The myriad treasures emperor behind the Holy Lord opened his eyes wide when he looked at the newcomer, his eyes filled with astonishment. He never imagined that the Ice Emperor would be the one to advance to the Dao ancestor level. The two companies are competitors, so they naturally know each other very well. He was well aware of the immense resources and influence of the Qiyun Chamber of Commerce, which was controlled by the Ice Emperor. What makes them capable of advancing to the Dao ancestor level? The Ice Emperor glanced at the myriad treasures emperor, and with a wave of his hand, a flash of blue light appeared. The light struck the chest of Emperor Wanbao. Puff! Emperor Wanbao fell toward the ground, his entire body covered in blue frost, his face deathly pale. Looking up at the figure in the sky that he had to look up to, a hint of fear appeared in his eyes. Rude behavior deserves punishment. You have no objection, right? Faced with the Ice Emperor's icy gaze, Emperor Wanbao shivered. He knew that the Ice Emperor was now on the same level as the Holy Lord, and was no longer someone he could afford to offend. Greetings, Your Majesty the Ice Emperor. Emperor Wanbao knelt on the ground and bowed respectfully. The two sides were originally competitors, and he had caused the Qiyun Chamber of Commerce a lot of trouble in the past. This punishment is deserved. However, a question also arose in his mind. The Holy Lord should be able to help him withstand the attack just now. Why doesn't His Majesty the Holy Lord take action? As the voice of Emperor Wanbao spread, the other beings also learned of the identity of this newly promoted Dao ancestor. Whoosh! A commotion arose, and the eyes of many creatures were filled with shock. This newly promoted Dao ancestor is actually the Ice Emperor of the Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce. I am a loyal customer of Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce. I am so happy that Lord Ice Emperor has been promoted to Dao ancestor. Indeed, Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce is much better than Zhou Chamber of Commerce. With the Ice Emperor in charge, the Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce can become the #1 Chamber of Commerce in the Taiyuan Great World. Yes, but it depends on what the Ice Emperor thinks. The crowd was buzzing with discussion, and their voices reached the ears of Emperor Wanbao and the people of Qingyuan Holy Land. The elder who had previously ordered the Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce to leave Qingyuan Holy City was particularly pale. I'm doomed. I shouldn't have agreed to Emperor Wanbao's request. Now I've really screwed myself over. The elder of Qingyuan Holy Land turned pale and collapsed weakly to the ground. Aren't you going too far? In the void, the Azure Origin Saint Lord looked at the Ice Emperor and questioned him. A slight smile flashed across the Ice Emperor's face. Where did I go too far? Wanbao has been targeting the Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce. What if I killed him outright? The Ice Emperor paused, his gaze falling on the Azure Origin Saint Lord. Besides, if you didn't want this to happen, you could have stopped it just now. Qingyuan Saint Lord clenched his fist. Even in his prime, he was no match for Ice Emperor. Now injured, he is even less so. He didn't want to be defeated by the Ice Emperor in front of everyone. Their gaze fell upon Emperor Wanbao. From today onwards, the Nine Heavens Chamber of Commerce is closed, and the Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce will become the #1 Chamber of Commerce in the Taiyuan Great World. Chapter 480 Pengyun Merchant Ship, Dark Stone. Below, Emperor Wanbao could not believe what he was hearing. However, when his gaze swept over the Ice Emperor's figure, a bitter smile appeared on his face. The Ice Emperor appeared before Elder Fei, his icy gaze softening instantly. Lord Ice King. Yes, from now on, no one will be able to bully the Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce. The Ice Emperor looked at the Qingyuan Holy Land and others not far away. What are they here for? Fei Lao glanced at the elders of Qingyuan Holy Land and then moved closer to the Ice Emperor. The Qingyuan festival is approaching, and this time the Qingyuan Holy Land is demanding that we hand over 100 low-grade source stones. Otherwise, they'll kick us out of Qingyuan Holy City. Upon hearing this, the Ice Emperor's eyes flashed with a cold light, and with a wave of his hand, frost-like power spread towards the people of the Azure Origin Holy Land. The group's eyes were filled with terror, but as frost covered their entire bodies, their senses gradually faded, turning them into blue ice sculptures. Above, the Holy Lord Qingyuan's attention remained fixed on the Ice Emperor. Upon seeing the Ice Emperor make a move, he immediately spoke up to stop him. Ice Emperor, you've gone too far. But the words of protest sounded so weak. The Ice Emperor withdrew his hand and looked at the Azure Origin Saint Lord. What instructions does the Saint Lord have? You. Qingyuan Saint Lord was furious, but then he saw everyone's gazes gathering around him. A gust of wind swept around him, and he disappeared into the air. Numerous living beings witnessed everything that happened, their faces filled with shock. Did the Holy Lord Qingyuan back down just now? I think so. There have always been rumors that the Qingyuan Saint Lord is the weakest among the Dao ancestors, and it seems to be true. They didn't even dare to make a move when their elders and disciples were killed. It seems they are no match for the Ice Emperor. Hearing the murmurs of the crowd, Emperor Wanbao smiled bitterly. No wonder the Holy Lord didn't step in to block the Ice Emperor's attack for him earlier. He took a deep look at the Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce, then left in a hurry. He feared that the Ice Emperor might dislike him and kill him with a single blow. From this day forward, the Nine Heavens Chamber of Commerce ceases to exist completely. After the Ice Emperor and the others left, many creatures came to the front of the Xiuxian Chamber of Commerce. As they approached the ice sculpture, The biting cold made them shiver involuntarily. But then a cultivator exclaimed in surprise, "What a rich ice elemental Tao power! If I could keep comprehending it, my strength would definitely improve greatly." Upon hearing this, many creatures gathered around. It was eventually discovered that it only works on water and ice types. The other living beings were of little use. Even so, it brought great joy to many living beings. They never expected that simply attending the Qingyuan festival would bring them such an opportunity. The residual Taoist essence of a Tao ancestor's rule is indeed a great opportunity for ordinary beings to comprehend the relevant laws. Those with strong comprehension may even be able to comprehend the corresponding supernatural powers. As the news spread, this place soon became a place of opportunity. On the Pengyun merchant ship, Zhou Yun was sitting with his uncle, drinking tea. "Young master, which little fellow has already lost all his money, even all the immortal crystals he obtained from the Taiyuan Great World?" Thinking of the chubby boy's unconscious state, Uncle Zhou's lips curled into a smile. Pengyun merchant ship's resources are not so easy to earn. Those who try to gain advantages by relying on their physical talents will eventually pay the price. Zhou Yun took a sip of the spiritual tea, a faint smile appearing on his face. "All of this was within my expectations." However, considering that it took the other party decades to lose it all, Zhou Yun was secretly surprised. This little fat guy really has a lot of resources. "Uncle Zhou, how are creatures that are deeply entangled in desires usually dealt with in the end?" Zhou Yun was unaware of the details of Pengyun merchant ship's operations, as everything was managed by Uncle Zhou. Moreover, he only needs to plan the general direction. Uncle Zhou would take care of all the details for him. "Young master, I have asked Yuan Shi to set aside a space specifically for them." Zhou Yun nodded. However, indulging in the illusion of desire is not pleasant, and it is unknown how long one will remain asleep before waking up. Those whose cultivation level is too low may simply fall into a deep sleep until their lifespan is exhausted. Even those creatures that regain consciousness will suffer great damage to their souls, requiring a long period of time or rare and precious materials to recover. Suddenly, Zhou Yun's expression shifted slightly, and he put down his teacup. Wang Nianzu awakened a top-tier luck-type physique, which allowed him to find treasures like the heavenly key even when he was only a mid-grade lucky spirit body. Now that he has a top-tier physique, I wonder if he possesses any special items. Zhou Yun was somewhat looking forward to what Wang Nianzu possessed. With a wave of his hand, numerous items floated in front of him. As Zhou Yun glanced at one of the items, his eyes lit up. A flash of inspiration struck, and the seemingly ordinary, dark stone appeared before them. Uncle Zhou's gaze fell on the black stone. "Young master, what is this?" "Baby." Zhou Yun's voice was low. He had just sensed a trace of the power of rules emanating from this black stone. Though very weak, it did not escape his notice. Moreover, he just checked the information in the back end. This black stone is actually comparable to a low-grade creation-level treasure. I wonder if the little fat boy will feel heartbroken when he wakes up. Zhou Yun twirled the stone in his hand, a smile playing on his lips. A dense golden array slowly rose from his body, enveloping all the items within it. Countless golden orbs floated above the courtyard, like dazzling stars. Uncle Zhou savored the spiritual tea, looking at the scene before him, a hint of excitement in his eyes. He knew in his heart that after this enhancement, Pengyun merchant ship's foundation would be greatly strengthened. While waiting for the enhancement, Zhou Yun's gaze fell on Uncle Zhou. "Uncle Zhou, you should also consider advancing to the immortal level." Uncle Zhou was taken aback. He had long since stopped caring about improving his cultivation level. Now, he possesses a top-tier 5 elements Tao body and an excellent 5 elements spiritual root. Even without cultivation, one's cultivation level continues to increase. Moreover, he follows the young master and has an eternal lifespan, so he is completely unaware of the passage of time. He only wanted to help the young master manage the Pengyun merchant ship. However, when he met Zhou Yun's gaze, Uncle Zhou smiled and replied, "Yes, young master." Okay, don't worry about advancing. I'll keep an eye on Pengyun merchant ship. After that, I will hand over some things to the other members and then go into seclusion. As the two chatted, golden orbs of light continuously burst forth, scattering golden light across the sky. Zhou Yun ignored them all and threw them into the exchange tower. His gaze remained fixed on the dark stone. He had a gut feeling. This dark stone will bring him a huge surprise. An item comparable to a creation-level treasure, if you're lucky, can be enhanced tenfold. Perhaps the first top-grade creation-level treasure will appear inside the Pengyun merchant ship. Thinking of this, Zhou Yun's eyes brightened slightly. Looks like the little fat guy is a lucky charm. I'm thinking of robbing him every now and then. Beings with top-tier luck-related constitutions are, in the eyes of other beings, a walking treasure trove.